Now, Behind the Law with Justin Clark and Allie Mack on ESPN 580 Orlando.
And welcome to the program. It's another edition of Behind the Law right here on ESPN 580 Orlando, a very special Orlando Magic playoff edition. It's been a long time, Brianna, since we've talked about the Magic and the playoffs, right? I mean, how many years has it been?
It's been a minute.
And then they show up this past weekend.
And win.
And get the victory.
Like,
and so, you know, I don't think we should get all excited yet, but I mean, it's pretty impressive. And then Tiger Woods yesterday. What an amazing event. Did you watch any of it or no? Be honest.
Tiger Woods? No, I didn't. No.
Not one single second.
Not.
Unbelievable. So is Jeremy, your husband, not the big golf guy or what?
He'll play golf. He doesn't really watch it.
So I was definitely one of those days for me that I was home sort of around the house all day long because there was basketball on, there was golf, and that 9 a.m. start time for the Masters was amazing too, by the way. I really, really liked that. And then it started to rain a little bit, so it was just a perfect day for me to do absolutely nothing. And I needed it. So what did you do? The Masters were on. Then where did you go? What were you doing? You wouldn't stay home and watch?
Well, no. It was my best friend's baby shower, and I was co-hosting, so we were there.
321-282-1055. YouHavePower.com. You can watch the program at Behind the Law Radio on Facebook, Instagram, any social media platform. Also, don't forget to watch the TV show. It's Behind the Law on television this Sunday and every Sunday, 10 a.m. on TV 27. Also, don't forget to watch the new TV program, 12:30, Saturday afternoons on CBS. It is You Have Real Estate with me, attorney Justin Clark. If you're not going to be home on the weekend, DVR, there's pretty good information on there that you're going to need, especially if you're hunting for a house. So this TV show that everyone was making a ruckus about, what is it called again? Game of Thrones?
Game of Thrones.
Do you watch that or no?
No, not particularly. I don't.
I've never watched one episode.
I feel like I don't have to, the way social media blows up whenever it's on.
I'm just one of these guys where if everyone's making that big of a deal of something, I'm just not that into it. I didn't even watch The Sopranos till the end, and of course I loved it. I went back and watched them all, but everyone was like, Sopranos. I was like, well, I'm not watching it. And then, of course, I fell in love with that show, but I don't know. I'm not a Game of Thrones guy.
I tried, didn't
But I haven't tried it out yet, so I don't know. Maybe I really would like it. Who knows?
You would. I don't know. It started way too slow for me.
A very special show in store for you tonight. Thank you for spending your weeknights with us. We're going to do the news with Brianna because Allie Mack is out today. We'll also play Stump the Clarkie in the second half hour, and we'll spend the entire show with the very special guest, Stewart. He is a patent, trademark, and copyright attorney. So look, if you're a business owner and you have always wondered, do I need to get a trademark? Do I need to copyright something to make sure that they don't steal my information? This show is going to be for you. And let me welcome to the show now, Stewart. How are you, Steven? Nice to see you. Good. So we went to the same law school, I'm learning, huh?
Right, that's right.
And people always ask me where I go, and I'm like, yeah, it was right across the river from Harvard, the New England School of Law. But it was a good school. Do you ever get back to Boston at all?
No, I do. I have relatives up there, but I get these things in the mail, from alumni.
Yeah,
exactly.
Exactly.
We're going to have this party or this, event or something. But
now, how bad should I feel about not contributing to my law school? I mean, should I start doing that or no?
Well, I think you should contrip at least $1.
$1?
Let me tell you why.
Okay.
Because I think they actually track this stuff, and
I
think U.S. News and World Report and some of these things give rankings based on percentage that alumni actually contributes. Not how much, but whether they contribute.
So even if I only do $500 a year or something, I should do something.
Yeah.
Because quite frankly, I never have. But all right, so that's a rule of thumb now. If you went to college or law school, you need to contribute. Are you ready to do some news, guys? We'll do the news together. What do you think?
Why not?
All right.
If it's on the internet, she's talking about it. It's What's Going On with Allie Mack.
What's going on? What's going on?
All right, so someone's got to tell me what is burning right now in Paris.
Notre Dame's on fire.
That is not good, right?
No, not
I mean,
at
that
all.
seems like a pretty big deal.
It's huge.
And anyone here, it wasn't terrorism, right? Do you know what happened? It looked like there was some construction going on there or something. But this is not good. The Notre Dame Cathedral is on fire. This is not a good thing. Not a good thing.
150 years. This is happening right now.
Yeah.
Wow. In real
Praying
time.
for you guys. What else do you have, Brianna?
Well, you know what? This is kind of exciting because Orlando has been known for attempting to break world records already. So there's another one coming up. And it's going to be the world record for the largest outdoor pizza party.
What?
Yeah.
I mean, what's the point? Why? Who invented this idea?
someone that likes pizza, obviously, and parties.
I mean, Steven Stewart, would you go to something like that? I mean, hey, we're going to try to set the world's largest pizza party record. I'd be like, okay, good luck to you.
Well, I would if I wasn't on a no-carb diet.
Yeah, that's it.
And out of town.
Probably one of those veggie pizzas or something. I don't know.
There it is. They need 1,500 people to show up. It's going to be free pizza on Church Street this Saturday.
Okay, so what's the point? Do you have any other information? I mean, I'm trying to read the story here. I have no idea.
Well,
so
yeah,
who's throwing this thing?
Local pizza restaurants are
Okay.
working together to provide free food. The party's going to be from 12 to 4 on Church Street. And they have flippers, mellow mushroom, pizza at Lake Eola, which is really freaking good. And they're doing free samples, and that's just kind of get everyone, out. And I'm sure it's going to be kind of a fun thing going on.
How do you like your pizza, Brianna? I mean, if you had to choose one certain type of pizza, what do you like?
Pepperoni.
Okay, that's not what I mean. Like, you want it like really thin and crunchy? Do you want like Chicago deep dish?
No. New York style, please.
New York style.
Yeah,
Steven
absolutely.
Stewart, what do you like?
Deep dish with everything on it.
Really?
Wow.
That's like one piece is the full meal.
that's what I
That's it. All right, I got you.
What about you, Justin? You have something like that?
Yeah, I like a little bit of a thinner, crispier, well done crust, I would say. Not burnt, done. Not soggy. I don't want soggy pizza.
But it's so
Do you ever
thin
eat your pizza
sometimes
with a fork and a knife, Brianna?
God, no. What? I'll roll it,
See,
though.
I do.
It depends if I'm walking. I'll roll
People
it.
make fun of me all the time, but I have no problem using like a fork and a knife and not getting your hands dirty. Would you ever do that, Steven?
I would either way. Any way it comes. If
but
it's big
shoot.
enough, I'd have to, and
Yeah.
if not, I guess the traditional way is you never eat a pizza with a fork and a
There it
knife.
is. I was like, I'm sitting in the room with two men who
Yeah.
are eating pizzas with fork and knife.
know.
I'm getting up and getting out of here.
Anything else in the news today?
Not for me. What about you?
Well, the Magic do play tonight. Go Magic. It's good to see them doing well. And I mean, look, even if they don't pull this series out, I think we're all going to say, at least we're back in the news a little bit.
Yeah, it was a good start.
Did you get emotional? Did you watch Tiger yesterday, Steven, or
Yes,
no?
I did.
Did you get emotional when you saw him grab his kids, or no?
I got emotional
Okay.
when he was giving everybody high fives.
Yeah.
And he sunk that last little.
I did too. I immediately went out of the room and looked for my two kids. I give him a hug, and then it showed the shot of him in 1992 when his dad came and hugged him, and then it went right to almost on the same spot where Tiger went and grabbed his son and daughter, and even mother. There was it was a touching moment for sure. I got a little teary-eyed. I'm not gonna lie.
It was amazing when the crowd jumped up and cheered.
Yeah, I know.
That was incredible.
It just goes to show you too, though, that as a society, maybe we are forgivers. Because what he did was not good. You would almost think that the women in the world would hate him for being such a serial cheater, so to speak. But I mean, there's no doubt about it. When Tiger is involved, the ratings are crazy, and people are just into it.
That's right.
I mean, it's just no doubt. I mean, did you forgive him as a cheater, Brianna? You know what I mean?
He didn't cheat on me.
Okay. So you have no problem forgiving him.
I guess not.
And not only forgiven, but everyone, really rooting. I haven't heard anyone say anything bad, really, about Tiger. 321-282-1055, youhavepower.com. If you want to watch the show, go to @Behind the Law Radio on Facebook, Instagram, and you can ask us questions right there. Joined today by Steven Stewart. He's an attorney handling patents, trademarks, copyright. What is this thing about you have to take a whole separate bar exam to be a patent attorney? Is that true?
Well, first of all, you don't have to be a lawyer to be what's called a patent agent. You could just take so many hours of technical education,
Right.
and you become what's called a patent agent. You have to pass a special test that's offered by the United States Patent Bar. And then you can become a patent agent. And then if you're a lawyer too, then they change the name from patent agent to patent attorney.
Got it. Do you really need a science background to get into patent law, would you say? I hear people say, well, I was a scientist and went to law school, so I'm just going to be a patent guy. What does that mean?
Well, you have to have so many hours of technical education because you're basically advising people what's the difference between what they did technically versus what people used to do before. So you have to know something technical about technology. Now, you could have the technology could be bioscience, technology could be chemistry, the technology could be electrical, mechanical engineering. So it doesn't necessarily mean that everybody's the same discipline. Or it could be plants, for example. There are people who get patents on plants, believe it or not.
What is the difference between a trademark and a copyright, And you, as a business owner, do you need to get either? Let's answer that question and many more. The Stephen Stewart, copyright attorney, right on the other side of this break. It's Behind the Law, ESPN 580 Orlando.
Now back to Behind the Law with Justin Clark, right here on ESPN 580 Orlando.
And welcome back to the show, ESPN 580 Orlando. My name is Justin Clark. It's Behind the Law. Thanks for spending your evenings here with us. Very special guest tonight, Stephen Stewart. He's an attorney handling patents, trademarks, copyrights, and you said even trademark, what was it before?
Trade secrets.
Trade secrets. What is that exactly? What's a trade secret?
So if you have like your customers or your list of customers or certain things about your business that isn't known outside your entity, and you want to keep that confidential, and you make efforts to keep it confidential, then it can be protected as what's called a trade secret under state and federal law. So that if somebody took that information, broke into your files, took the information, an employee violated their agreement and stole that information, there's action. You could take action against them to not use that information.
So what is the difference between a copyright and a trademark? I think we get a little confused about the difference here on the ground. What are the differences?
So a copyright is something that is manifested typically in a writing, something like a photograph, a video. This TV program, video program that we're doing right now is subject to copyright. Once it's manifested or put down into some type of medium, it becomes a copyright. And what a copyright does is it prevents people from making copies. Okay, a trademark is typically your brand, the name of your company, like Justin Clark and Associates, or You Have Power, something that people will recognize as your company and your business. Coca-Cola, Ford, Mercedes are other examples, and it could be just a symbol. It could be like the Mercedes sign or the BMW sign or a symbol, and it's something that you recognize as a symbol. Or you recognize as a mark or association of a quality of the business.
So as a business owner or an artist or whatever, how do I know it's time to really look into getting a copyright or a trademark?
Well, the advantage of getting a trademark, so a couple ways. One, for both a copyright and a trademark, you don't have to technically do something to get those. Once you write it down on a piece of paper or fix it in a tangible medium, it is, under the law today, it is copyrighted. Now, you can file the copyright and get enhanced damages and statutory damages if people copy you and increase attorney's fees, but you don't have to do that. It's only if you want to get enhanced damages for copyright do you want to do that. And typically, if you go to court, it's a lot easier to prove something if you have your registration, and some courts require you get the registration before we can go to court. On the trademark, similar type thing. Once you start using your mark in business as part of in commerce. If you're the first one to use that mark and no one's used it before you, you establish rights right away. Now, if you file, you can file and get a federal registration. You can even get a state registration. And there are certain advantages to getting a federal registration. For example, one thing you could do is once you file and get a federal registration, it's good in all 50 states, where trademarks are typically locally based. Like, for example, Behind the Law is typically in this area and maybe some of the area around, maybe the state of Florida. But if you were going nationally, you may want to file a federal registration, and then it would be good in all 50 states.
Got it. So I used to listen to music by, and don't kill me, and maybe I didn't listen to a lot of this, Weird Al Yankovic, right? Yankovic, whatever his name was. And he would be doing these songs that sounded like other people's songs, but making jokes out of them. Is that a violation of copyright laws or what?
Well, I guess one would argue that there are certain exceptions to copyright laws. So there's what are called fair use exceptions, which are if you're doing satire, if you're basically you're not trying to parlay on their work, but you're making fun of something that somebody else has done. Satire is done typically in comics. You see it in the paper all the time. Other things like news, where you're quoting things that are copyrighted material. If you're not want to fall into one of these exceptions, then yes, you could be violating someone's copyright. But if you're doing it as a satire or you're doing it newsworthy or education type things, then there are exceptions to the copyright law.
So, for instance, right now, let's say that we were going to this tragedy that's happening in Paris right now, and I wanted to cut to a news clip of Fox News or CNN to keep it in the middle. Could I use that clip, or do you think I have to go get their permission because it's copyrighted? And if you don't know, it's okay too. I'm trying to figure out what's protected, what I can use and what I can't use,
Well, I think there's an exception for news,
okay.
and I don't handle a lot of represent a lot of news people, but for news related stuff, it's still a copyright violation, but but they give you what's called a fair use exemption, that when you're showing news, that you have an exception for that. But typically, I would assume that if you're copying somebody else's information, the general rule is don't do it because you're violating the copyright and you need to get the permission.
Sometimes if you go buy a Coke bottle or any sort of big company product like that, you'll see that little symbol on the bottom. What is that exactly?
So the symbol you're talking about is typically an R with a circle around it, and that means that it's been registered with the United States Trademark Office. And by the way, trademarks can be registered in the U.S. Trademarks can be registered in foreign countries. So each country has their own type of registration. But that being said, an R with a circle typically means that it's been registered. And typically sometimes you'll see the TM. Do you ever see the TM?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Marks? So that means that we've applied for the mark, or we're claiming that we own the trademark, but we haven't registered yet, or it hasn't been registered. An R with a circle can only be used by law if it's been registered.
Got it. You're listening to Behind the Law, ESPN 580 Orlando. Justin Clark. We're talking to Stephen Stewart today. He's an attorney handling patent, trademark, copyright. This is a very, very important show for those of you who are business owners, or if you have an idea. We've all seen that TV commercial, Stephen, where I can't even remember the name of them, but like if you have an idea, call us to do the patent, or we've seen websites to go to. You can do it at home patent. It's almost like going to WebMD for your back pain or something, but should we really do that, or should we get a lawyer if we're going to really get a patent?
Well, I mean, you don't have to have a lawyer to do a patent, but the issue is I guess you get what you pay for. So with that being in mind, that typically what happens is when you file these patents, it's a pretty complicated process because there were two elements or three things you really need to do to get a patent. One is you have to show pictures or describe what the patent is and that you're claiming. And then that goes to the second part is at the end of the patent is something you say, I claim what my invention is. So if the claims aren't done properly, let's say you said, I invented doing ABC, and when you filed your patent, you didn't know what you're doing. You said, I do A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
Right. And
you only had to do ABC. If somebody doesn't do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, then they wouldn't be infringing your patent. And so you may get a patent, but it may not be enforceable against anybody because nobody's going to do it.
So what is a patent exactly?
Okay. So a patent is the inventor, the easiest way to say it is the government makes a deal with the inventors. They say, Mr. Inventor, in exchange for you just telling me and the public how to make your invention, and assuming that it's novel, novel meaning you're the first one to do it, no one's done it before you, and it's something called unobvious, meaning you didn't just paint it blue or pink or whatever. You just change the color of it. We will grant you a patent, and it has to be when it falls into a certain statutory category. It can't be mathematical algorithms, and there are certain discoveries of nature that you just find. But assuming it's a composition of matter or something that falls in the statutory categories, the government will give you the right to prevent other people, not the right to do, but the right to prevent other people from making, using, selling, or importing your invention for 20 years from the date you filed the invention, the application.
Wow. Can you give me some specific examples of what someone's gotten a patent for? Is it because I created a microphone like this, or is it any specific examples you can think of for patents?
Well, I mean, there could be simple things from, I don't know, I've gotten a patent on 2 sticks. Basically what it is that you take a first stick and it sticks to the side of a microwave, and you have another stick that goes vertically, and then they're attached. And at the bottom there's a paddle, and you put it on a turntable, and it stirs the sauce.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So
that's a good one.
So back about 20 years ago, I used to work for Raytheon. I worked for a company called Modern Maids, Sweet Queen.
Right.
And when I was doing work for them, we got a patent on 2 sticks. So it could be something very simple, or it could be something a lot more complicated, like some type of streaming algorithm where you click on a button and something buffers before it streams. So YouTube's doing it all the time for stuff like that, for streaming. So it can get really complicated, or algorithms. The other thing you can get patents on is designs. So like the look of an iPhone, or the look of a lamp, or an article manufacturer. You can get picture patents on some of that stuff as well.
Unbelievable. The process of getting a patent, how long does it take? How much can it even cost? So let's answer those questions and play Stump the Clarkie. Right on the other side of this break, it's Behind the Law, ESPN 580 Orlando.
Now back to Behind the Law with Justin Clark, right here on ESPN 580 Orlando.
Welcome back to the program. It is Behind the Law, ESPN 580 Orlando. My name is Justin Clark. Thanks for spending your evenings here with us. You can watch the show at Behind the Law Radio on Facebook, Instagram, any social media platform. Also, don't forget to watch the TV show. It's Behind the Law on TV this Sunday and every Sunday, 10 a.m. on TV 27. And our new TV program, You Have Real Estate, with me, attorney Justin Clark, will be this Saturday and every single Saturday, 12:30 p.m. on CBS. The beautiful Brianna's here to my right. Hello, Brianna. How are you?
Awesome. How are you?
I'm well. Allie Mack has the Monday off. It's a very special Monday, an Orlando Magic Monday, and a post-Tiger Woods Sunday. And for some of you, what's the show again?
Oh, Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones Monday. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you didn't stay up too late. I, for one, have never watched it. If you have any criticism of me for never watching it, that's fine with me, too. It's no big deal. Reach out to me at Behind the Law Radio. And look, if someone can convince me like it's really that good, I promise I'll go back and watch it. What channel is it on? I mean, if I wanted to go do a marathon right now, would I go to Netflix or Amazon Prime or any idea?
Amazon Prime, but it's the basically you can do HBO now because it airs on HBO.
I don't think I have that.
But you can also do HBO on Amazon Prime.
Oh my God. And look, for all of us cable cutters out there, this is the problem.
Yeah.
I decided I wanted to cut cable, and I still haven't, of course, but I've signed up for every other service under God's green earth, thinking I'm going to cut cable, and all I've done is tripled my monthly entertainment bill. You got Netflix, Amazon, HBO Now, all of these services, and we still haven't even cut the cable. I mean, it's becoming almost impossible to figure out exactly what to do. Hulu. Right? DirecTV Now, I've got them all, pal. I've literally tripled what I spend a month in cable and that sort of thing. Stephen Stewart's here. Stephen's an attorney handling copyright, patent, trademark, and also the father of one of our splendid attorneys here, Brandon Stewart. Stephen, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you.
You got it. So we're going to play a little game of Stump the Clarky in just a minute, but I wanted to answer this last question because a lot of people are out there who have come up with a great idea or a great invention, and they really do want to patent that. What is the process and typical time frame for getting a patent?
So typically what happens is someone will come up with the idea, and you never have to actually build your invention to get a patent on something. Right. You just have to be able to explain to somebody how someone who's skilled in the art can make your invention. And once they do that, then what would happen is they'd come to me and they would write up a disclosure of how to make their invention. They provide it to me, and I would do a write-up, and I do drawings for them, and we would probably come up with claims. And typically the process takes, 3 or 4 weeks typically to get that part done. And we would then file with the patent office their invention. And then probably in about
7 years?
No, it's not that long. It's somewhere between 1 to 3 years, depending if you're doing scissors.
Yeah.
Maybe 9 months. On the other hand, if you're doing some sophisticated software, it could take 3 years. So you go into a queue in the patent office. And it's first come, first serve. And there is ways, by the way, if you want to spend money, you can accelerate. The government's pretty forgiving.
Right.
You just pay them some money, and they'll speed things up. The way things
Shocker.
work. Shocker.
Who would have ever thought?
So you could, but typically for their normal fee, within about 2 to 3 years, you'll hear back from them, and they'll do a search. The government does a search, and if they don't find your invention, then they grant you the patent. If they find it, then there's some back and forth with you and the patent office. Remember, I talked about claims. What you invented, you're modifying your claims to more narrowly define what you are, and then your patent issues. And then other than paying some maintenance fees, it's good for 20 years from the date you file.
Gotcha. We're going to talk plenty more about copyright, trademark, patent, but we got to play a quick game first. It's time for Stump the Clarky.
All right, and now it's time for Stump the Clarky. Come on, Clarky. We need you to get over here. We got some great trivia questions we want you to answer. Come on, Clarky. Get over here.
Attorney Stephen Stewart, let me just tell you, very likely this category is going to be something that you know quite a bit about. Brianna likes to see me lose, so I'm thinking you know a lot about the category. I don't know. We're going to get 4 questions here. We'll write all 4 answers down, and then we'll come back and score the game. Brianna, what is the category today?
Today's category is all about world records.
Oh, okay.
Joking. It's intellectual property.
I was hoping that it would be something.
Of course.
Intellectual property. Okay, great. So I'm probably going to get skunked today.
Perhaps.
Like I did the other day.
Yeah.
Who skunked me again? How did I get skunked? Do you remember what it was? What was the category?
I think it was John Hughes about running, I believe.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
I don't know much about running, unfortunately.
The man killed it.
All right, question 1. It's Stump the Clarky for a Monday night, ESPN 580 Orlando. Brianna.
Question 1. What year was the first ever patent statute enacted by the U.S. government?
Oh, yeah.
What year was the first ever patent statute enacted by the U.S. government?
I'm going to
So
say.
No, write that down.
You're going to write it
I'll
down.
write
You have a
down.
pen? Okay, perfect.
All right.
Yep, write that
I'm
down.
definitely losing this game tonight. I should just quit. Can we switch? You answer and I'll read the questions. Question number 2. Go ahead.
What year was the first ever patent issued? And that's global. What year was the first ever?
This isn't the United States.
No,
What is around the world?
the actual first ever patent was issued. If it helps, it was in Florence, Italy. If it helps.
Yeah.
Probably doesn't, but
All right, question number 3.
question. Question number 3. What percentage of music consumers still use pirated music?
Ooh.
What percentage of music consumers still use pirated music?
I mean, I think it's still a lot. I don't know, but
You know what? It's up there still. This number was surprising.
all right. And a final question for Stump the Clarky, Monday night, ESPN 580 Orlando. Brianna.
Yes. We were talking about patents earlier, and Apple's feud with a smart flash resulted in one of the largest patent infringement payouts to date. How much was that payout?
The feud?
Yeah, they had this giant thing with smart flash.
A feud with Smart Flash.
They were using some of their some of the software in iTunes. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
go through it.
Okay.
How big was that payout?
All
He wrote that down
right.
pretty quick.
Let's score this game.
Man. All right, let's score it up.
All right. So, question number 1, Brianna, what did you have?
Question number 1. What year was the first ever patent statute enacted by the U.S. government?
Stephen Stewart said
1792.
1792. It's probably a pretty good answer. I went with over 100 years, no, almost 100 years later, 1882. What's the right
I
answer?
was off by 10.
That would be 1790.
1790. Stephen gets a point. Good job. It's 1-0, Stephen Stewart. Question 2.
Question 2. What year was the first ever patent issued?
I went with 1547. Stephen, what'd you have? 1650. What's the right answer?
That'd be 1421.
Oh, Justin Clark gets on the board somehow miraculously. It's 1-1. Trust me, I will not win. Question number 3. Brianna.
What percentage of music consumers still use pirated music?
Stephen Stewart, what did you have?
50%.
50%. I went with 72%, but I don't know. What was it?
That would be 42%.
42%. Yeah, I guess I'm underestimating us cheating flyers out there. Stephen Stewart goes up 2-1, going into a dropped microphone here in the studio. That would be the beautiful Brianna dropping mics. The game's not even over and you're dropping mics. You're not even playing. It's not like you're winning and you're dropping the mic.
I don't win.
Question number 4 for a Monday night edition of Stump the Clarky. Brianna, what do you have?
Apple's feud with Smart Flash resulted in one of the largest patent infringement payouts to date. How much was that
And
payout?
Stephen Stewart went right to the board on this one. Like he might have had some inside information. I went with $3 billion. Stephen Stewart, what did you have?
I had 2.
$2 billion?
Yeah, 2.2 billion.
$2.2 billion. What is the right answer?
Jeez, guys, it's a $532 million.
Oh, wow. Stephen Stewart gets the point and beats us today on Stump the Clarky 3-1. Good job, Stephen. What does he win?
He wins a branded Justin Clark water bottle.
Good job. So, sorry we don't have any better gifts today, Stephen, but, you know, you can have as many waters as you want. You already have one. Good job. All right, plenty more ahead. We're going to talk more copyright, trademark, and patent law with attorney Stephen Stewart right on the other side of this break. It's Behind the Law, ESPN 580 Orlando.
Okay, folks, thank you so much for being with us. Clarky,
they got a
let's
bigger
get out of
version.
here,
Become
buddy.
Sam
My
Simon.
stomach thinks my throat's cut. I'm starving.
Now back to Behind the Law with Justin Clark, right here on ESPN 580 Orlando.
One final segment ahead of Behind the Law, ESPN 580 Orlando. My name is Justin Clark. We're talking to attorney Stephen Stewart today about patents, trademarks, and copyright. Steve, let me ask you this question here. There's all this new technology, social media, YouTubers. Like my 6-year-old daughter is obsessed with these YouTubers. Has any of this social media and this technology really changed the way copyrights work or how people need to get copyrights? I mean, has it changed anything in your world?
Well, I think that what's happened is there's probably been a lot of requests to do takedowns. So one of the things is that typically these internet service providers are the people who are hosting these services. Pretty much I think under the new Digital Millennium Copyright Act, which was an act that was passed in Congress in the past 20 years to try to handle some of the new changes to technology. What they've done is they've allowed these internet service providers to not have liability up front. But once they're made aware of the situation, we've been writing them letters and stuff and getting them to take down the information. So they'll take it down right away. Not only with that, but websites as well. So if you're using somebody's trademark or somebody's using a copyright on the website, we can, rather than having to go to court and taking 6 months or whatever to force these things to happen, we've done stuff where we've actually sent takedown notes, and that's changed things a little bit.
So if I'm building a website right now from scratch and I just go out on the web and find pictures to use and put them up on my website, am I at risk of getting letters like that?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, I've known people who have inadvertently done that, and they've stepped into stuff. And if remember, we talked about registering. Do you need to register a copyright? And one of the advantages, if the copyright was actually registered, they can say you're entitled to something called statutory damages. I don't have to prove an actual dollar amount.
Really?
And they amount to like $750 per instance of copy. So, which can amount to, if you're making a lot of copies of that website or it's getting copied and put all over the place. And you can lose attorney's fees as well. So it can get very expensive very fast. So don't do it.
So let's say I have 50 pictures on this new website I created, and I just wasn't aware that I couldn't just go grab a picture and put it on my website. I mean, it could be $750 a pop for each one of them.
That's right. That's
unbelievable.
Right.
And then
assuming they registered them. Now,
right.
If they didn't register it, then you may have to prove their actual damages, and there's what's the cost of a picture run for up to the website, and typically people take it down real fast. But yeah, don't go to YouTube and find stuff on the web unless there's some type of disclaimer on it that says this is for the general public, or you get it from a legitimate source, or you take the picture yourself.
Yeah.
Because if you took the picture of the same thing, and even though it happened to look identical to what somebody else took, if you took the picture, then it's not a copyright infringement, because one of the defenses to copyright infringement is independent development. So if you did it independently, wrote it yourself without looking at their stuff, that's an absolute defense to copyright infringement.
So, and this might make me sound like a bad person, but if I'm a photographer and I'm looking for some secondary income, I mean, how do I get in the business of taking pictures like that, putting them on the web, but making sure if someone does use them, I'm getting paid? I mean, they have to copyright every picture. What do they do?
Well, there's a way you could copyright. You could file, like, if a whole conglomeration. You can file them all at once. Mm-hmm. So you could send in 100 pictures to the Copyright Office and register all 100 at a time. You don't have to do them all 100 individually. So people are doing stuff like that.
What kind of time frames involved with copywriting photos like that?
Typically, you can get a copyright in 30 to 60 days.
Oh, okay.
And as a matter of fact, it's pretty cheap. I think it's $35 to $50. You go on the web page, you fill out the form, and then you send in the pictures.
So why is a copyright so much faster and cheaper than getting a patent?
Well, because the examination process, when the copywriter comes to the Copyright Office, it's pretty much rubber stamped.
Okay.
The patent, it goes to an examiner, and when you go to the patent office, it goes into a queue behind other people who are waiting to use the same examiner. And the examiners are divided by area of expertise. So in all the tire people, it's one group, and all the scissor people is a different group. So you get behind an examiner, depending on how big the queue is, you get in, and the examiner looks at it and does a search to see, has somebody done something like what you're filing the patent on. With the Copyright Office, they don't do a search.
Got it. Let's go back to patents for just a minute. I mean, what sort of ideas or concepts are considered patentable?
Okay. That's a good question. So the bigger question is what's not patentable, and lately software by itself. If it's something that a bunch of guys can get together in the room and do something without a machine or some apparatus, the Supreme Court in a recent decision, a few years ago, said we're not going to allow patent or business methods by themselves to be patentable. Now they've started to loosen up a little bit on that, and basically it's something that some type of machine, some composition of matter, something that's moving something that you would require some type of machine to do. So you say, can something on a computer be patentable? And the issue is if the thing on the computer, like an algorithm, is something that you could do, it may take you longer, could do yourself, then it's not considered patentable.
Gotcha. And then that process again could take a few years, even, right? To actually get the patent.
To actually get the patent. That's right.
So what happens if during those few years someone else comes up with the same idea?
Right. So two things. One, we used to be a first to invent country, and we sort of still are in a hybrid sense. Now we're a first to file. So if you file yours first before anybody else does, you get the patent. Even though someone else came up with the idea. Now, you don't have to ever file your patent. If you can show that you've been using your idea before they file their patent, then the company will have an invalid patent. Right. Now, in the interim process, if someone comes up and say, how can I stop them from using your invention during that interim process until I get my patents? A couple things. One, if your patent is published and your patent issues, pretty much like how it was published, they will allow you damages back to that publication date. The second thing is you just may have to just wait till it gets patented, and then the day it gets patented, you could stop them right then. And anybody who's using your invention, you can go after them as well and tell them to stop, or anybody who's selling your invention, the day that patent issues, you can get money right from that date.
I mean, how often do we see these patent contests in the real world, in the real legal world? Is this something that happens quite a bit? Are we really fighting over patents out there?
Well, it used to be something called an interference proceeding, where if two people invented it at the same time, you'd have a proceeding to say, okay, I invented it first, and then someone said, and there's actually a proceeding before the patent office to say who did what first. Nowadays, because we've gone to more of a first to file system, you don't have it. You look at it, okay, who filed it first, and is it the same thing? And if it is, then the guy who filed first wins.
Yeah, unbelievable. What about that Vanilla Ice song? What did that? Do you remember what I'm talking about, where they were accusing him of stealing the lyrics or something? Or you always hear about bands who will ultimately come back and steal musical beats and things like that. That has to do with copyright, or what is that?
That has to do with copyright. So one of the big examples was Marvin Gaye.
Yeah.
And what's the guy's name? Alan Thicke.
Oh, yeah.
Or his son or whatever.
Rest in peace.
Do you know what song I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do remember now. I think it was Robin Thicke.
Robin Thicke.
Robin Thicke was the kid, right?
Yeah. What was it? What was the song that he did that was... Anyway.
Do you remember, Brianna? The song was a very sort of sexual song, I believe.
Give me a minute.
Blurred lines.
There
or
you
something
go.
like that.
Exactly.
Okay. So there was actually a copyright suit by the estate of Marvin Gaye, and they won against Blurred Lines for copyright infringement, because you could see it's. By the way, it's not what you don't copy; it's what you do copy. So was there in essence a track there where you could show that there was a copy, and evidently the jury believed that they copied it, and so they got tagged for copyright.
And how do they determine damages in something like that?
Well, typically it would be a statutory damages as a minimum, or what would the lost profits was, or some of these things have compulsory damages that you can set by the industry based on similar type songs, what people have been paying for.
Gotcha. Beautiful. If I want to reach out, let's say I'm listening right now and I have a question, I want to talk to Stephen Stewart about getting a patent or looking at a copyright or trademark, how do I reach out to you?
Well, I have a website. It's www.stewartiplaw.com. And you can reach out to me there, and you can call me. There's some phone numbers on that website, and you can just pull it up right from that.
Now, I hope that the pictures you're using on your website are not copyright, and I hope that you're all set with that, right?
They're pictures of me, which I own the copyrights for, or the permission of the web designer.
Any other patents that you've worked on that you can tell us about right now? The stick thing was fascinating to me. Anything else?
Well, at one time I used to work for a company called Real Networks, and one of the things we've done is we've gotten patents on the concept of clicking on a link and getting a streaming of video.
Really? That's patentable.
It was when they filed it back in the 90s, and
Wow.
I did some work with them to get that patent issued.
Beautiful. So do you enjoy this type of work? I mean, it seems fascinating to me.
Well, it's interesting. I think I enjoy more talking to people and having people start businesses,
Right.
and advising them on what they need to do to make sure they're protected, and when they brand their items, that they're branding things properly, and if there's something that's protectable, that we explain to them how they can get protection, and so that they can, basically go and have their invention through their life and not have somebody take it away from them.
Attorney Stephen Stewart, website one more time.
StewartIPlaw.com,
Beautiful.
StewartIPlaw.com.
Good job today. Great to see you. Go Magic tonight. Brianna, I don't know much, but I do know one little thing.
What's that?
I'll see you right back here tomorrow night on ESPN 580 Orlando.